Now in this series of pictures we are going to look at the nerve supply, arterial supply, venous drainage and lymphatic drainage of the tongue. We have left out development for the time being because otherwise this class will be unnecessarily prolonged, and we will study development in some subsequent class. Now if you look at this picture for the nerve supply, it appears unnecessarily complicated because you can make out the trigeminal nerve over here, the mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve. You can make out the seventh cranial nerve, the facial nerve over here. You can make out the glossopharyngeal nerve over here. You can make out the hypoglossal nerve over here, and you can make out the vagus nerve over here. So all of these nerves are actually supplying the tongue. But how and in what distribution? If you look at this mandibular nerve, one of the branches of the mandibular nerve is the lingual nerve. So the lingual nerve is one important nerve supply for the tongue. So you follow the lingual nerve over here, coming round over the hyoglossus muscle and going into the tongue, and you can make out this branch of the facial nerve which is joining the lingual nerve. So what branch is this? This is the cauda tympani branch of the facial nerve. So cooperation between facial nerve and mandibular division of trigeminal nerve, the two together will join and supply the tongue. So cauda tympani branch of the facial nerve unites with the lingual nerve in the infratemporal fossa, as you can see, at an acute angle, and the two together go into the submandibular region, and from there they are going to supply the tongue. And you can make out that this lingual nerve, from the lingual nerve is hanging the submandibular ganglion. So what is the supply for the lingual nerve and what is the supply of the cauda tympani branch of the facial nerve? Now the lingual nerve and the cauda tympani branch of the facial nerve will supply the mucous membrane of the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, that is the oral part of the tongue. So the lingual nerve carries general sensations from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, and the cauda tympani branch of the facial nerve carries taste sensations from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue. So lingual nerve and cauda tympani branch of the facial nerve carry general sensations and taste from the oral part of the tongue. That is why these two nerves have cooperated. So lingual nerve and cauda tympani branch of the facial nerve. Now this submandibular ganglion, what is it for? This cauda tympani branch of the facial nerve does carry taste sensations from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, but it also supplies parasympathetic fibers of the facial nerve, which will relay in the submandibular ganglion, and it will supply the submandibular and sublingual salivary glands. That is why to the lingual nerve we have hung this submandibular ganglion. Anyway, if we focus on the tongue, then general sensations from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue by the lingual nerve, taste sensation from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue by cauda tympani branch of the facial nerve. So cooperation between facial nerve and mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve. Next you come to this nerve that we have drawn here in blue, and this is the ninth cranial nerve, the glossopharyngeal nerve. So you can see this small branch going from the glossopharyngeal nerve. This is the branch going to the stylopharyngeus muscle. Now this glossopharyngeal nerve is supplying the posterior one-third of the tongue, the pharyngeal part, the mucosa of the pharyngeal part of the tongue. So you can see the glossopharyngeal nerve supplies the mucosa of the posterior one-third of the tongue, but unlike the anterior two-thirds, both general sensations and taste sensations are carried by the glossopharyngeal nerve. For the anterior two-thirds of the tongue you had two nerves. You had the lingual nerve for the general sensation, you had the cauda tympani branch of the facial for taste sensation. But for posterior one-third of the tongue, both general sensations and taste sensations are carried by glossopharyngeal nerves. But the point is that the glossopharyngeal nerve does not only supply the posterior one-third of the tongue. In the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, just in front of the sulcus terminalis, you have seen the row of valate papilla or circumvallate papilla. In addition to the posterior one-third of the tongue, the glossopharyngeal nerve also supplies the taste buds of the circumvallate papilla. So posterior one-third of the tongue plus circumvallate papilla of the anterior two-thirds of the tongue is by glossopharyngeal nerve, and general sensations and taste from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue by lingual nerve and chorda tympani branch of the facial nerve. So trigeminal, facial, glossopharyngeal. Now we have drawn the vagus over here. You see the vagus nerve, and we have also drawn small branch over here from the vagus. So the vagus also carries taste sensations. From where does it carry taste sensations? From the vallicula, where the mucous membrane is reflecting from the tongue onto the posterior surface of the epiglottis. So in the posterior most part of the tongue, in the vallicula, where there is a fold of mucous membrane from the pharyngeal part of the tongue onto the epiglottis, there you have some taste buds which are supplied by the vagus, and they are supplied by the internal laryngeal branch of the vagus. So that is why we have drawn the vagus here. You can see the superior laryngeal nerve over here, and you can see the external laryngeal and the internal laryngeal, and this internal laryngeal branch of the vagus gives some branches to the vallicula to supply the taste buds over there. Now the taste fibers, whether they are carried by chorda tympani branch of the facial, whether they are carried by the glossopharyngeal, or whether they are carried by the internal laryngeal nerve branch of the vagus, all of them are going to relay in the nucleus tractus solitarius, the upper part of the nucleus tractus solitarius. And the general sensations which are carried by the mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve for the anterior two-thirds and the glossopharyngeal nerve for the posterior one-third, the general sensations, that is touch, pain, pressure, temperature, they are all going to relay in the sensory nuclei of the trigeminal nerve, that is the main sensory nucleus and the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Now we have another nerve, the hypoglossal nerve. You can see the hypoglossal nerve over here. You can immediately identify the hypoglossal nerve because you have the descendens hypoglossi and the descendens cervicalis from the cervical plexus, and you have the loop of the ansa cervicalis. So you can make out that the nerve which is giving rise to the fibers of forming the ansa cervicalis, that is definitely going to be the hypoglossal nerve. And you can see the hypoglossal nerve passing superficially across the hyoglossus muscles and going into the muscles of the tongue. So this hypoglossal nerve is supplying the intrinsic and extrinsic muscles of the tongue, except palatoglossus, which, as I said, takes the nerve supply of the soft palate, that is from the cranial accessory through vagus through the pharyngeal plexus. So hypoglossal nerve. Now the proprioceptive sensations from the muscles of the tongue, they are carried partly by the hypoglossal nerve and partly by other nerves, and from whichever nerve you have these proprioceptive sensations going back, they are ultimately all relaying into the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. So traditionally the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve is the sensory relay center for proprioceptive fibers of the head and neck. So again you have so many cranial nerves participating in the supply to the tongue. You have the mandibular division of trigeminal nerve, chorda tympani branch of facial nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, vagus nerve, hypoglossal nerve. All of these are together supplying mucous membrane, general sensations, taste sensations, and the skeletal muscles, intrinsic and extrinsic of the tongue. Now from the nerve supply you come to the arterial supply. Again you can see the common carotid, internal carotid, external carotid. From the external carotid you can see ascending pharyngeal, superior thyroid, lingual, facial, posterior auricular above, occipital below, superficial temporal going up, maxillary going deep. So all of these branches of the external carotid artery you can see, and you can make out the lingual artery given just above the greater cornu of the hyoid, and you can see this lingual artery curving up and going deep to the hyoglossus. We have drawn the outline of the hyoglossus, but this hyoglossus actually covers the lingual artery. So if you have the hyoglossus in its entirety, you cannot see the lingual artery, but the lingual artery is going deep to the hyoglossus over here. So the lingual artery forms a loop over here which is crossed by the hypoglossal nerve, and the topographical importance of this hyoglossus is that it divides the lingual artery into first part proximal to the hyoglossus, second part deep to the hyoglossus, and the third part anterior to the hyoglossus. So from the first part of the lingual artery you have this suprahyoid artery, From the second part of the lingual artery, you have these dorsal lingual arteries going into the tongue, and from the third part of the lingual artery, this is called the profunda lingual artery or the deep lingual artery, you have a sublingual branch. So this is the lingual artery which supplies the bulk of the tongue, muscles, mucosa, everything. Apart from this lingual artery, you can see this ascending pharyngeal artery has given small branches to the tongue, and the facial artery, which is ascending palatine branch, it has also given some branches to the tongue. So ascending palatine branch of the facial supplies some blood to the region around the root of the tongue. The ascending pharyngeal supplies some blood to the region around the root of the tongue, and the main part of the bulk of the tongue is supplied by the second and third parts of the lingual artery. First part of the lingual artery giving suprahyoid branch, second part of the lingual artery deep to the hyoglossus giving the dorsal lingual branch, third part ending as the deep lingual artery and giving the sublingual branch. Now from the arterial supply, let us come to venous drainage. Now in venous drainage, you have two sets of veins. On a more superficial plane where you have the hypoglossal nerve, you have a set of veins accompanying the hypoglossal nerve. These are called the vena comitants of the hypoglossal nerve. This is outside the hyoglossus muscle because the hypoglossal nerve itself is superficial to the hyoglossus. So these vena comitants of the hypoglossal nerve, they are also superficial to the hyoglossus. Deep to the hyoglossus you have the lingual artery, and there are veins accompanying the lingual artery. This is the deep lingual vein which you can see on the undersurface of the tongue. So deep lingual vein, maybe multiple as vena comitants accompany the lingual artery. So a set of superficial lingual veins accompanying the hypoglossal nerve, a set of deep lingual veins accompanying the lingual artery. At the posterior border of the hyoglossus somewhere here, these sets of veins can unite to form a single lingual vein. If it does form a single lingual vein, it can join with the facial vein, or it can drain into the internal jugular vein. Or what can happen is that the superficial set of veins accompanying the hypoglossal nerve, they drain into the common facial vein, and the deep set of veins accompanying the lingual artery, they drain directly into the internal jugular vein. Now we come to this picture, the lymphatic drainage of the tongue. Now the lymphatic drainage can be studied as separate groups. You have some lymphatics in the apical region which are called the apical lymphatics, some lymphatics passing through the sides of the tongue which are called the marginal lymphatics. So you have apical lymphatics, marginal lymphatics and central set of lymphatics. And within the tongue also you have lymphatic plexuses underneath the mucosa, and you have lymphatic plexuses within the muscles. But ultimately they are going to come out as three sets: apical lymphatics, marginal lymphatics, central lymphatics. Now this is the outline of the tongue. This is the foramen cecum, sulcus terminalis, and here 2/3 of the tongue, posterior 1/3 of the tongue. So the entire tongue, as you can see, anteriorly it is surrounded by the mylohyoid muscle, just deep to the mandible. So the floor of all the lymphatics of the tongue are actually trying to go to the side, to the deep cervical lymph nodes, which are extending from the level of the tongue to below the tongue on the side of the neck. So most of these lymphatics from different parts of the tongue, they are going to go downward. They are going to go downward into these deep cervical lymph nodes. So in the bulk of the tongue, where you have the central group of lymph nodes, these will also go to the deep cervical lymph nodes ultimately. Apical will also go to the deep cervical lymph nodes. Marginal will also go to the deep cervical lymph nodes. But what will happen is that anteriorly you have the mylohyoid muscles of the two sides. So these apical lymph nodes, some of them will pierce the mylohyoid and drain in the submental lymph nodes. Some after piercing will go directly to the jugulo-omohyoid group of lymph nodes. That is the lower deep cervical lymph nodes. Again from the marginal lymph nodes, some will penetrate the mylohyoid, go to the submandibular lymph nodes. Some will penetrate the mylohyoid and go to both jugulo-digastric and jugulo-omohyoid lymph nodes. So central and marginal. Now what the apical and marginal, now the central and posterior set of lymphatics, they are again surrounded by the superior constrictor muscle. So the tongue is surrounded by the mylohyoid from the front and the superior constrictor from behind. So lymphatics which are passing anteriorly and downward, they are piercing mylohyoid. Lymphatics are passing posteriorly and downward, they are piercing the superior constrictor. So the lymphatics of the central and posterior set of lymphatics over here, lymphatics from the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, which will form the central group of lymphatics, they are going to pierce the superior constrictor, and they are going to come to the jugulodigastric as well as jugulo-omohyoid group of lymph nodes. Now even from the submandibular here and the submental lymph nodes, ultimately you have lymphatics, the efferent lymphatics of these nodes passing to the jugulodigastric and jugulo-omohyoid group of lymph nodes. Now the jugulodigastric lymph node is situated just above the digastric muscle, and the jugulo-omohyoid group of lymph nodes is situated just above the omohyoid muscle. And what you must keep in mind is that in the apical sets of lymphatics, they crisscross so that lymphatic drainage from one side may go over to the opposite side, and malignancy on one side may also have its secondaries on the opposite side. This is much more for the apical set of lymph nodes rather than for the other sets of the lymph nodes. Even in the central set of lymph nodes, central set of lymphatics, you have some crisscross channels, but the crisscross channels are more for the apical set of lymph nodes, lymphatics. Ultimately, all of these lymphatics channels are going to end up in the deep cervical lymph nodes on the side of the neck and just underneath the sternocleidomastoid, which we will start from the just below the pinna right up to the root of the neck, and of which the most important again are the jugulodigastric and the jugulo-omohyoid lymph nodes. And thank you for giving me a patient hearing.